The neon lights of Meridian's gate flickered through the dirty window of Dae Sung's cramped quarters. He sat at his desk, staring at the holographic display floating in front of him. The image showed a woman with pale skin and silver hair. Her eyes were an unnatural violet color that seemed to glow even in the still photograph. Below her face, red letters spelled out the reward, 500,000 credits. Dae Sung had been a bounty hunter for almost 10 years. He had seen big rewards before, but nothing like this. 500,000 credits could change his life. He could retire, maybe buy a small station somewhere quiet. No more sleeping in cheap rooms, no more wondering where his next meal would come from. The woman's name was Hana. She was Velathi, one of the alien species humans had met when they first traveled beyond their solar system. The Velathi looked almost human, except for their pale skin and strange eyes. They also needed to drink blood to survive. This made most humans fear them. The news called them vampires. The government called them dangerous. According to the file, Hana had killed 12 human colonists on Tycho Prime, a mining world at the edge of human space. The crime happened 3 months ago. Since then, she had been running. The Galactic Council wanted her captured alive to face trial. Dead bounties paid half. Dae Sung always preferred alive anyway. It paid better and felt less like murder. He pressed the accept button on the contract. The hologram blinked and confirmed his acceptance. Now he just had to find her. Finding people was what Dae Sung did best. He had contacts in every major station and planet in this sector. He sent out messages to his network, offering small rewards for information. Within 2 days, he got a hit. Someone had seen a Velathi woman matching Hana's description in the lower districts of Meridian's gate. She was hiding in plain sight, right here on the same station where Dae Sung lived. The lower districts were where people went when they did not want to be found. The air smelled like recycled chemicals and old food. The lights were dim, and most of the shops were illegal. Dae Sung walked through the narrow corridors with his hand near his weapon. His contact had told him Hana was hiding in an abandoned docking bay near the station's outer ring. The docking bay was dark and cold. Old ships sat covered in dust, forgotten by their owners. Dae Sung moved slowly, his eyes scanning every shadow. He had hunted dangerous people before. He knew not to underestimate anyone with a bounty this high. He found her sitting on a cargo crate near the back of the bay. She was not hiding. She was not running. She just sat there looking at him with those violet eyes. For a moment, Dae Sung hesitated. Something felt wrong. "Are you here to kill me or capture me?" Hana asked. Her voice was calm, almost curious. "Capture," Dae Sung said. He drew his weapon, a small plasma pistol. "Don't move." "I won't," she said. She placed her hands on her knees where he could see them. "I'm tired of running." Dae Sung approached carefully. This was too easy. People with bounties this high did not just surrender. They fought. They ran. They did something. "Why aren't you fighting?" he asked. "Because I didn't do what they say I did," Hana replied. "I thought running would keep me alive until I could prove it. But no one will listen to a Velathi. So maybe going to trial is better than hiding forever." Dae Sung pulled out restraints and locked them around her wrists. The metal cuffs beeped, confirming they were secure. He still could not shake the feeling that something was off. "Everyone says they're innocent," he said. "I know," Hana said. "But I really am." He led her back through the lower districts to his ship. It was a small transport vessel, built for speed rather than comfort. He locked her in the cargo hold, which he had converted into a secure cell for transporting bounties. The room had a bench, a water dispenser, and nothing else. "It's a 3-day trip to the collection point," Dae Sung said. "I'll bring you food twice a day." "Thank you," Hana said. She sat on the bench and looked at him. "What's your name?" "That doesn't matter," he replied. "I suppose not," she said. "But I'll be here for 3 days. It might be nice to call you something other than the bounty hunter. Dae-sung hesitated. He usually did not talk to his bounties. It was easier that way. Easier to think of them as cargo rather than people. But something about her calm demeanor made him answer. Dae-sung, he said. Thank you, Dae-sung, Hana said. My name is Hana, but I suppose you already know that. He left the cargo hold and sealed the door. His ship lifted off from Meridian's gate an hour later. The journey to the collection point would take them through several hyperspace jumps. Dae-sung set the autopilot and tried to relax in his captain's chair. But he could not stop thinking about Hana, the way she had surrendered without a fight, the way she had thanked him, even though he was taking her to face trial for murder. Most criminals were angry or desperate. She was neither. On the second day of the journey, Dae-sung brought her a meal. It was simple rations, the kind that came in sealed packages and tasted like cardboard. When he opened the door to the cargo hold, Hana was standing near the wall, looking at the small window that showed the stars streaming past. It's beautiful, isn't it? She said. Even when you're trapped, you can still see the universe. Dae-sung set the food on the bench. You should eat. I will, she said. She turned to face him. Can I ask you something? Depends on what it is, he replied. Why did you become a bounty hunter? Dae-sung crossed his arms. That's personal. I know, Hana said, but we have 3 days, and I'm curious about the man who captured me. He should have left. He should have walked out and sealed the door. But instead, he found himself answering. I needed the money, he said. It pays well. That's not the real reason, Hana said. She tilted her head, studying him. You were something else before this? A soldier, maybe? Dae-sung felt a flash of anger. How do you know that? The way you move, she said. The way you cleared that docking bay. That's military training. So what happened? Why did a soldier become someone who hunts people for money? He should have left, but something about her directness made him want to answer. Maybe it was because she would be gone in a day anyway. Maybe it was because she was the first person in years who had asked him a real question. I lost someone, he said quietly. Someone I was supposed to protect. After that, I stopped caring about being a hero. I just wanted to survive. Hana nodded slowly. I understand that feeling. Dae-sung turned to leave, but her voice stopped him. The colonists on Tycho Prime, she said. They were already dead when I arrived. I tried to help them, but it was too late. Someone poisoned them, and then they blamed me because I was there. Because it's easy to blame a Velati. He looked back at her. Do you have proof? No, she said. That's why I ran. Who would believe me? Dae-sung left the cargo hold without another word. He sealed the door and returned to the captain's chair. His mind was racing. Could she be telling the truth? Or was she just manipulating him? He pulled up the case files on his console and began reading through them again. The official report said the colonists died from blood loss. Hana had been found at the scene. Security footage showed her entering the colony buildings. It seemed clear. But Dae-sung had learned over the years that official reports were not always accurate. Sometimes they left things out. Sometimes they lied. He stared at the screen, his doubt growing with every word he read. This was supposed to be simple. Catch the criminal, collect the bounty, move on to the next job. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. Outside the ship's window, the stars continued their endless dance through the void. And in the cargo hold, Hana sat quietly, waiting to face judgment for a crime she claimed she did not commit. Dae-sung had one more day to decide if he believed her. Dae-sung could not sleep. He lay in his narrow bunk, staring at the metal ceiling of his quarters. The ship's engines hummed quietly as they traveled through hyperspace. In less than 24 hours, he would deliver Hana to the collection point and receive his payment. 500,000 credits, enough to change everything. So why did he feel so troubled? He got up and made himself a cup of synthetic coffee. It tasted bitter, but the warmth helped. He sat at his console and opened the case files again. This time he read more carefully. The report stated that all 12 colonists had died from severe blood loss. Their bodies had been found in their homes and workplaces across the small colony. Hana had been discovered in the colony's medical center, trying to access the computer systems. The report made it sound obvious. A Valathi found at a murder scene where people died from blood loss. Case closed. But Dae Sung had investigated enough crimes during his military days to know that obvious did not always mean true. He noticed something he had missed before. The medical examiner's report was sealed under military classification. Why would a civilian murder case have military sealed evidence? He tried to access the sealed files, but his clearance was not high enough. The system rejected his request with a red warning message. That made him even more suspicious. Dae Sung heard a soft knock from the cargo hold. It was impossible, of course. The door was sealed and soundproof, but somehow he knew Hana was awake too. He made a decision he knew might be foolish. He opened the cargo hold door. Hana stood near the window again, watching the stars. She turned when the door opened. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "No," Dae Sung admitted. He leaned against the door frame. "I was reading your case file." "And?" Hana asked. "Something doesn't add up," he said. "The medical reports are classified. Why would they classify evidence in a criminal case?" Hana's expression softened. "Because the truth would expose someone powerful." Dae Sung gestured to the bench. "Tell me everything. From the beginning." Hana sat down, and Dae Sung remained standing, listening carefully. "I was a teacher," Hana began. "On my homeworld, I taught human literature and culture. I loved your poetry, your stories, your history. I wanted to understand humans better. When the cultural exchange program opened, I volunteered to study on human worlds." "Why Tycho Prime?" Dae Sung asked. "That's a mining colony, not exactly a cultural center." "I was studying how humans adapt to frontier life," Hana explained. "The colonists there were kind to me. They didn't fear me like others did. I lived there for 6 months, teaching their children and learning about their lives." She paused, and Dae Sung saw pain in her violet eyes. "Then one day, I noticed something wrong. The children I taught were getting sick. Headaches, nausea, fatigue. I thought it was just a virus. But more adults started showing symptoms too. I went to the medical center to check the records." "What did you find?" Dae Sung asked. "Nothing," Hana said. "The files were corrupted, deleted. I thought it was strange, so I tried to recover the data. That's when the security alarms went off. Colonial security arrived and found me at the computer, and then they found the bodies." "All 12 colonists," Dae Sung said. Hana nodded. "Dead in their homes, but not from blood loss. Their lips were blue. Their fingernails were discolored. Those are signs of poison, not blood loss. I tried to tell the security team, but they wouldn't listen. One of them called me a monster. They were going to kill me right there." "So you ran," Dae Sung said. "I ran," Hana confirmed. "I escaped in a transport shuttle. I've been running ever since." Dae Sung sat down on the floor, his back against the wall. He studied Hana's face, looking for signs of deception. But she met his gaze steadily, without fear or anger. "Why should I believe you?" he asked. "Because you're a good man," Hana said. "I can see it. You became a bounty hunter because you're hurt, not because you're cruel. Something happened to you. Something that made you stop trusting people. But deep down, you still care about the truth." Dae Sung felt something twist in his chest. She was right, though he did not want to admit it. "You said I lost someone," he said quietly. "You were right about that too." "Tell me," Hana said gently. Daesung had not talked about Jiwoo in years. He had buried those memories deep, where they could not hurt him anymore. But somehow, in this small cargo hold with this alien woman who might be innocent, the words came out. Her name was Jiwoo. She was my younger sister. I was 25, she was 22. I was serving in the Human Defense Force, and she lived on a frontier station near the border worlds. He paused, the memories flooding back. There was a raid. Mercenaries attacked the station looking for supplies. The Defense Force sent a response team, but I was on leave. By the time I got there, it was over. 70 people died. Jiwoo was one of them. "I'm sorry," Hana said softly. "I should have been there," Daesung continued. "I was trained to protect people, but I was on leave, halfway across the sector, drinking in some bar. When they needed me most, I wasn't there." "It wasn't your fault," Hana said. "Wasn't it?" Daesung looked at her. "I left the military after that. I couldn't stand wearing the uniform anymore, couldn't stand the speeches about honor and duty when duty hadn't saved my sister. So I became a bounty hunter. At least that way I only had to worry about myself." Hana moved closer, sitting on the floor across from him. "You're still protecting people. In your own way, you capture criminals. You bring them to justice." "I bring them in for money," Daesung corrected. "I don't care about justice." "I don't believe that," Hana said. "If you only cared about money, you wouldn't be troubled right now. You wouldn't be questioning my case. You would just deliver me and collect your credits." Daesung had no answer to that. They sat in silence for a while. Then Hana spoke again. "My people have a saying. The deepest wounds are the ones we give ourselves. You blame yourself for your sister's death, but the real killers were the mercenaries. You've been punishing yourself for 10 years for something that wasn't your fault." "And you?" Daesung asked. "What wound are you carrying?" Hana smiled sadly. "I believed that if I just showed humans that Velati were peaceful, that we were scholars and teachers and artists, that they would accept us. I believed understanding could overcome fear. But when those colonists died, no one cared about the truth. They just saw a vampire and assumed I was guilty." "That's not fair," Daesung said. "No," Hana agreed, "but it's reality. My wound is my broken faith in the possibility of understanding between our species." Daesung stood up and walked to the window. The stars looked cold and distant. He thought about his sister. He thought about all the years he had spent running from his pain. And he thought about Hana, who had spent months running from false accusations. "Tell me about the Velati," he said. "Your people. What are they really like?" Hana's eyes brightened. For the next hour, she talked about her home world. She described cities built around ancient libraries, where knowledge was considered the highest treasure. She told him about Velati art and music. She explained that while her people did need blood to survive, they had developed synthetic alternatives centuries ago. Only a few traditional communities still practiced blood drinking, and it was always done with consent and ceremony. "We're not monsters," she said. "We're just different." Daesung found himself fascinated. He had spent his entire life hearing propaganda about how dangerous the Velati were, but listening to Hana, he realized he had never actually met one before. He had never bothered to learn the truth. "You said you taught human literature," he said. "What was your favorite?" Hana smiled. "Poetry, especially the old Earth poets. There was one named Yeats who wrote about human longing and loss. He understood that beauty and sadness often exist together." She recited from memory. "But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face." The words hung in the air between them. Daesung felt something shift inside him, like a locked door beginning to open. "That's beautiful," he said. "Yes," Hana agreed. "Human culture is full of beauty. That's why I dedicated my life to studying it. I wanted to build bridges between our peoples. Dae-sung checked the time. They would reach the collection point in 6 hours. He had to make a decision. I need to check something, he said. I have contacts who can access classified files. If what you're saying is true, there should be evidence. And if you find evidence? Hana asked. Then we have a problem, Dae-sung said, because I'll have to decide between 500,000 credits and doing the right thing. Hana stood and walked over to him. She placed her hand on his arm. Her skin was cool to the touch. Whatever you decide, she said. Thank you for listening. That's more than anyone else has done. Dae-sung returned to the cockpit and sent encrypted messages to his contacts. He offered money for information, for access to sealed files, for anything that could confirm or deny Hana's story. Then he waited. The response came 3 hours later. One of his contacts, a former military intelligence officer named Kyung, had accessed the sealed medical files. What he sent back made Dae-sung's blood run cold. The colonists had died from industrial toxin exposure, not blood loss. Someone had changed the official reports, and that someone had powerful connections. Dae-sung stared at the evidence on his screen. He had captured an innocent woman, and if he delivered her to the collection point, she would be convicted of crimes she did not commit. He looked at the countdown timer. 3 hours until they reached the destination. 3 hours to decide what kind of man he really was. The ghosts of his past seemed to whisper in the silence of the ship. Jiwoo's voice, asking him to do the right thing. His own voice, tired of running from responsibility. Dae-sung made his decision. Dae-sung stood in front of the cargo hold door, his hand hovering over the control panel. Behind him, the ship's navigation system counted down the minutes until they reached the collection point. Ahead of him, an innocent woman waited for a fate she did not deserve. He pressed the button. The door slid open. Hana looked up from where she sat. She could see something had changed in his expression. "You found something," she said. Dae-sung held up his datapad, showing her the medical reports his contact had obtained. "You were right. The colonists died from industrial toxin exposure. Someone changed the official reports to say blood loss." Hana closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. "Thank you for believing me. I need you to tell me everything you remember about Tycho Prime," Dae-sung said. "Every detail. There's a reason someone wanted those colonists dead and blamed you for it." Hana nodded and began to speak. She described the colony in detail. It was small, only about 200 people. Most of them worked in the mines, extracting valuable minerals from the planet's crust. The 12 who died were all mine supervisors and engineers. "They were the people who controlled access to the mining operations," Hana said. "They had the authority to approve or deny mining permits." Dae-sung felt pieces clicking together in his mind. "What kind of minerals were they mining?" "Standard stuff mostly," Hana said. "Iron, copper, some rare earth elements. But about a month before the deaths, they discovered something new. I heard the miners talking about it in the cafeteria. They called it a major find." Dae-sung pulled up information about Tycho Prime on his datapad. He searched through mining reports and geological surveys. Most of it was standard data, nothing unusual. Then he found a report that had been filed 2 weeks before the murders. It mentioned preliminary findings of viridium deposits. His heart started racing. Viridium was one of the rarest elements in the known galaxy. It was used in advanced spacecraft engines and could only be found in a few locations. A major viridium deposit could be worth trillions of credits. "This is it," Dae-sung said. "Someone wanted access to that viridium, and the mine supervisors were in the way." "But who?" Hana asked. "Who has that kind of power?" Dae-sung dug deeper into the files. He found the mining rights contract for Tycho Prime. The colony had a treaty that protected their claim to any minerals discovered on the planet. The treaty was valid for 10 more years. unless something happened to invalidate it. The mining rights contract listed several companies that had tried to purchase stakes in Tycho Prime. All had been rejected by the Colonial Council. One company had made 5 separate offers, each one rejected. That company was Nexus Dynamics. Dae-Sung knew that name. Nexus Dynamics was one of the largest corporations in human space. They owned mines on dozens of worlds and had connections to the highest levels of government. They were powerful enough to make problems disappear. Nexus Dynamics, he said aloud. They wanted the Viridium, but the colony wouldn't sell. So they eliminated the people who could stop them and framed you to create chaos. Hana stood up, her expression angry. They murdered 12 innocent people for money? And they would have gotten away with it, Dae-Sung said. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't tried to access those medical records, no one would have investigated. They could have claimed the colony died from some accident or disease and then moved in to take over the mining rights. But I was there, Hana said, so they made me the villain instead. Dae-Sung paced the small cargo hold. We need proof, real proof. These medical reports help, but they're not enough. We need to show that Nexus Dynamics was behind the murders. He contacted Kyung again, his intelligence contact. The conversation was brief and expensive. Kyung wanted 10,000 credits for what he was about to do. Dae-Sung paid it without hesitation. 30 minutes later, new files appeared on his datapad. Corporate communications, financial records, security logs. Kyung had hacked into Nexus Dynamics systems and pulled everything related to Tycho Prime. Dae-Sung and Hana read through the documents together. What they found was worse than he had imagined. The corporation had planned the entire operation months in advance. Internal memos discussed the Viridium discovery and the need to remove obstacles. Financial records showed payments to a mercenary group for security consultation. Security logs revealed that Nexus operatives had been on Tycho Prime the week before the murders, supposedly conducting a routine inspection. But the most damning evidence was a recorded communication between a Nexus executive and someone in the Galactic Council. The executive, a woman named Director Yoon, discussed the need to ensure the Velothi takes the blame and offered a bribe of 2 million credits to place the bounty and seal the medical evidence. They paid the Galactic Council, Hana said, her voice shaking with rage. The people who are supposed to ensure justice took money to frame me. Dae-Sung felt sick. He had served the military believing in honor and justice. He had left because he lost faith in those ideals. Now he saw that the corruption went even deeper than he had feared. We have evidence, he said, but what do we do with it? The navigation system beeped. They were 15 minutes from the collection point. Hana looked at Dae-Sung. You could still turn me in. Take your money. No one would blame you. I would blame me, Dae-Sung said. He walked to the control panel and pulled up the navigation controls. I'm changing course. We're not going to the collection point. Where are we going? Hana asked. Away from here, Dae-Sung said. I need time to think, and we need help. This is bigger than both of us. He cut the restraints from Hana's wrists. She rubbed her skin where the metal had been. You're setting me free? She asked. We're in this together now, Dae-Sung said. When I don't show up with you, they'll come after me too. I just made myself a fugitive. Hana touched his arm. Why? You could have just let me go and disappeared. Why risk everything? Dae-Sung thought about Ji-Woo. He thought about all the years he had spent running from responsibility. He thought about Hana's words in the cargo hold. You're still protecting people, in your own way. Because it's the right thing to do, he said simply. And because I'm tired of being the kind of person who looks the other way. He sent an encrypted message to the collection point, canceling the delivery and forfeiting his contract. 500,000 credits gone. But he felt lighter than he had in years. The ship changed course. heading toward the outer rim territories where they could disappear while they figured out their next move. Dae-sung knew they needed allies. They needed people who could help them expose Nexus dynamics and clear Hana's name. He thought of Taemin, his old friend from the military. Taemin was a genius with computers and had left the service to become a freelance hacker. If anyone could help them spread this evidence, it was him. "I know someone who might help us," Dae-sung said. "He's good with technology. If we can get this evidence to him, he might be able to do something with it." "Can you trust him?" Hana asked. "I saved his life once," Dae-sung said. "He owes me, and he's one of the few people I know who actually has principles." They traveled for 2 days, jumping through several systems to lose any potential followers. Dae-sung used false identification codes to avoid detection. It was risky, but necessary. During those 2 days, Dae-sung and Hana worked together to organize the evidence. They created a comprehensive file showing the entire conspiracy: the toxin exposure, the corporate memos, the bribed council members, the false bounty, everything. Dae-sung also noticed how well they worked together. Hana was intelligent and thorough, catching details he missed. She had a systematic mind that complemented his more intuitive approach. And despite everything she had been through, she remained hopeful. "Do you really think we can win?" she asked one night as they reviewed the files. "I don't know," Dae-sung admitted. "Nexus Dynamics is powerful. They have friends in high places. We're just 2 people." "3 if your friend helps," Hana said. "3 against a corporate empire," Dae-sung said. "Great odds." Hana smiled. "My people have another saying: the smallest light can illuminate the darkest room. We have the truth. That's a powerful weapon." Dae-sung hoped she was right. They finally reached the coordinates where Taemin lived, a small independent station called Haven's Rest. It was neutral territory, outside the jurisdiction of the major powers. People came here when they wanted privacy or when they were running from something. Dae-sung sent a coded message to Taemin's private channel. The response came quickly. "Bring your ship to Docking Bay 12. Come alone." "I should go with you," Hana said. "He said alone," Dae-sung replied. "And your face is too recognizable. If someone sees you, they'll report it." Hana nodded reluctantly. "Be careful." Dae-sung docked the ship and made his way through the station to a small apartment in the residential section. Taemin opened the door before Dae-sung could knock. "I heard you forfeited a 500,000 credit bounty," Taemin said. "Are you insane?" "Probably," Dae-sung said. "Can I come in?" Taemin stepped aside. His apartment was cluttered with computer equipment and screens showing various data streams. He had always been paranoid about security. Dae-sung explained everything: the false bounty, the murdered colonists, the Nexus Dynamics conspiracy. He showed Taemin the evidence. Taemin whistled low. "This is explosive. If this gets out, it could bring down some very powerful people." "That's the idea," Dae-sung said. "Can you help us?" Taemin was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "You saved my life on Creo Station. I owe you. And honestly, I'm tired of seeing corporations get away with murder." He grinned. "Besides, this is exactly the kind of impossible challenge I live for." "So you'll help?" Dae-sung asked. "I'll help," Taemin confirmed. "But we're going to need more than just the 2 of us. This kind of operation requires a team." "I have someone else," Dae-sung said. "The woman they framed, her name is Hana." "The vampire they're hunting?" Taemin asked. "She's not a vampire," Dae-sung said firmly. "She's a scholar who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And she's innocent." Taemin studied his friend's face. "You care about her." "I care about the truth," Dae-sung said. "Sure," Taemin said with a knowing smile. "The truth. Well, bring her here. Let's meet this innocent scholar and start planning how we're going to take down a corporate empire." Hana entered Taemin's apartment cautiously, her hood pulled low over her face. When she lowered it, Taemin stared at her violet eyes for a moment before extending his hand. "I've never met a Velati before," he said. "Welcome to my humble workspace." Hana shook his hand. "Thank you for helping us. Dae-sung speaks highly of you." "He saved my life once," Taemin said. "Though he's too modest to tell you the details, we were pinned down by hostile forces on Creo Station. I was injured and couldn't move. He carried me 3 kilometers through enemy fire to reach the extraction point." He looked at Dae-sung. "So yeah, when he asks for help, I help." Over the next few hours, they reviewed all the evidence together. Taemin's eyes grew wider as he read through the files. "This is worse than I thought," he said. "Nexus Dynamics didn't just murder 12 people. They corrupted the Galactic Council. They manufactured evidence. This goes all the way to the top." "Can we expose them?" Hana asked. Taemin leaned back in his chair. "Maybe. But we need to be smart about it. If we just dump this information on the public networks, Nexus will deny everything. They'll claim the files are fake. They'll use their media connections to discredit us. We need something more." "What do you suggest?" Dae-sung asked. "We need 2 things," Taemin said. "First, we need the original security footage from Tycho Prime, the stuff they deleted. If I can recover it, we can show what really happened. Second, we need a journalist with credibility. Someone people will believe when they report this story." "Where do we get that footage?" Hana asked. "Nexus Dynamics headquarters," Taemin said. "They would have kept backup copies. Corporations always do for liability purposes. The problem is, their headquarters is on New Seoul, a corporate moon with security that would make a military base jealous." Dae-sung frowned. "So we need to break into one of the most secure locations in human space." "Exactly," Taemin said. "Like I said, we need a team." "I know a journalist," Hana said quietly. Both men looked at her. "Her name is Young Mi. She interviewed me once, about a year ago, for a story about cultural exchange between humans and Velati. She was kind. She actually listened." "Where is she now?" Taemin asked. "I don't know," Hana admitted, "but I could try to contact her." Dae-sung pulled up a search on Taemin's computer. Young Mi's name appeared with dozens of articles. She had been a respected journalist working for one of the major news networks. But 6 months ago, she had published a story accusing a government official of corruption. The story was retracted, she was fired, and her reputation was destroyed. "She tried to expose corruption and got burned for it," Dae-sung said. "She might be willing to help us." "Or she might be too scared to try again," Taemin said. "Getting destroyed once tends to make people cautious." "Let me try to reach her," Hana said. "If I explain what we have, she might see this as a chance to redeem herself." Taemin provided Hana with a secure communication channel. She recorded a message explaining who she was, what had happened on Tycho Prime, and what they needed. She sent it to Young Mi's last known address. The response came faster than expected. 3 hours later, Young Mi's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, older than her years. "Hana," Young Mi said, "I heard about the bounty. I never believed you killed those people." She paused. "Your message mentioned evidence. Real evidence." "Yes," Hana said. "Proof that Nexus Dynamics murdered the colonists and framed me. Proof that members of the Galactic Council took bribes. We want to expose them, but we need someone the public will trust." Young Mi was quiet for a long moment. "They destroyed my career when I tried to expose a minor official. If I go after Nexus Dynamics, they'll do worse." "I understand if you're afraid," Hana said, "but those 12 people deserve justice. And if we don't stop Nexus, they'll do this again." Young Mi closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was fire in them. "Send me your location. I'm coming." She arrived 2 days later, looking nervous but determined. Taemin showed her all the evidence. She read through every document, watched every video clip, studied every financial record. When she finished, she looked up with tears in her eyes. "This is real," she said. "This is really real. I can work with this." "There's more," Taemin said. "We need to recover the original security footage from Nexus headquarters. Will you help us?" Young Mi took a deep breath. "I'll help. But I need something in return. When this is over, I get the exclusive story. No one else breaks this news. Just me." "Deal," Dae-sung said. Now they were 4. But Taemin insisted they needed at least one more person. "Breaking into Nexus headquarters requires technical expertise," he said. "We need someone who understands their security systems, someone who can get us inside." "Do you know anyone?" Dae-sung asked. Taemin shook his head. "Not with those specific skills." "I might," Hana said. "There's another Vilathi living in human space. Her name is Bora. She's an engineer, brilliant with security systems. She had to flee our homeworld after speaking out against the traditionalist movement." "Can you trust her?" Dae-sung asked. "I knew her before I came here," Hana said. "She's good. And she hates corruption as much as we do." They located Bora working on a cargo station in the Outer Rim. Hana sent her a message. Bora agreed to meet them at a neutral location. The meeting took place in a small cafe on an independent station. Bora arrived looking suspicious and wary. She was shorter than Hana, with darker skin and silver hair cut short. She wore practical work clothes and carried a toolbox. "Hana," Bora said, embracing her friend, "I've been worried about you. That bounty, it's false," Hana said. "All of it. These people are helping me prove my innocence." Dae-sung explained the plan. Bora listened carefully, occasionally asking technical questions. When he finished, she was quiet. "What you're asking is dangerous," Bora said. "Nexus headquarters has military-grade security, biometric locks, AI surveillance, armed guards. Even with my skills, the chances of success are maybe 30%. "So you're saying there's a chance?" Taemin asked with a grin. Bora smiled slightly. "I'm saying it's possible. Difficult, but possible. And for Hana, I'll try. Plus, I've always wanted to hack a major corporation." Now they were 5. Over the next week, they planned the operation in detail. Taemin mapped out Nexus headquarters' digital infrastructure. Bora studied their physical security systems. Young Mai researched the personnel and schedules. Dae-sung trained them in basic combat and stealth tactics. Hana coordinated everything, her organizational skills proving invaluable. They also got to know each other. During breaks, they shared meals and stories. Dae-sung learned that Taemin had become a hacker because he lost faith in government systems. Young Mi had become a journalist to give voice to people who were silenced. Bora had fled her home world because she refused to accept the old ways that kept her people isolated. One evening, Dae-sung and Hana sat alone on the observation deck, watching the stars. "Do you think we can really do this?" Hana asked. "I don't know," Dae-sung admitted, "but I know we have to try." "Why?" Hana asked. "You could have just taken your money and forgotten about me. Why risk your life?" Dae-sung thought about how to answer. "When my sister died, I felt helpless. I couldn't save her. I couldn't change what happened. For 10 years, I've been running from that feeling. But helping you, fighting against this corruption, it makes me feel like maybe I can make a difference after all." Hana took his hand. Her skin was cool, but comforting. "You've already made a difference. You believed me when no one else would. You gave up everything to help me. That takes courage. Or stupidity," Dae-sung said with a slight smile. "Sometimes they're the same thing," Hana said. She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm glad you captured me that day." "So am I," Dae-sung said. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the endless dance of the stars. The next morning, the team gathered for the final planning session. Tae-min projected a holographic map of Nexus headquarters. "The security footage we need is stored in the central data vault," he said. "It's in the subterranean levels 300 meters below ground. We'll need to infiltrate the building, reach the vault, extract the data, and escape without getting caught or killed." "Is that all?" Young-mi asked dryly. "Actually, there's more," Bo-Ra said. "The data vault requires executive-level biometric access. We need someone with the right clearance to open it." "So we need to kidnap an executive," Dae-sung said. "Not just any executive," Tae-min said. "Someone with direct access to the vault. According to my research, there are only 5 people in the company with that level of clearance. One of them is a director named Chul. He oversees security operations." Dae-sung pulled up Chul's file. The man was in his 50s with a stern face and an impressive service record. He had worked for Nexus for 20 years. "He'll be heavily protected," Dae-sung said. "Actually, maybe not," Young-mi said. She had been researching Chul's background. His daughter died in an industrial accident 6 months ago, on one of Nexus's mining operations. Since then, he's been drinking heavily and missing work. He might not be as loyal to the company as he once was." "You think he'd help us?" Hana asked. "Maybe," Young-mi said. "If we approach him the right way, if we show him what Nexus really is." Dae-sung made a decision. "We approach Chul first. We show him the evidence. If he agrees to help, our chances improve significantly. If he refuses, we'll have to find another way." The team agreed. They spent 3 more days preparing. Bo-Ra built specialized equipment for bypassing security systems. Tae-min created false identifications and digital disguises. Young-mi prepared a presentation showing all the evidence. Dae-sung ensured everyone knew the extraction plan if things went wrong. On the morning of the operation, they gathered one last time. Everyone was nervous but determined. "Once we do this, there's no going back," Dae-sung said. "Nexus will come after us with everything they have. Anyone who wants to walk away, now's the time." No one moved. "Good," Dae-sung said. "Then let's go show these corporate criminals what happens when they underestimate a few determined people." They boarded their ships and set course for New Seoul. The mission that would either clear Hana's name or get them all killed was about to begin. As they traveled through hyperspace, Dae-sung felt something he had not felt in years: hope. He was no longer running from his past. He was fighting for a better future. And he was not alone. He looked at his team, these unlikely allies who had come together for a common cause: a hacker, a journalist, an engineer, a scholar, and a former soldier. Against them stood one of the most powerful corporations in human space, but they had something Nexus Dynamics did not have. They had the truth. And sometimes that was enough. New Seoul glittered against the darkness of space like a jewel. The corporate moon was covered in massive towers and gleaming structures, all belonging to various companies and corporations. The largest and most impressive building belonged to Nexus Dynamics. It rose 3 kilometers into the thin atmosphere, a monument to corporate power. Dae-sung stood at the window of their rented apartment, studying the tower. Somewhere inside that building was the evidence they needed. And somewhere in the city below was Director Chul, the man who might help them get it. "Second thoughts?" Tae-min asked, joining him at the window. "About a dozen," Dae-sung admitted. "But we're committed now." They had been on New Seoul for 2 days, observing patterns and finalizing their plan. Tae-min had hacked into the city's surveillance network to track Chul's movements. The director followed a predictable routine. Every evening, he visited the same bar near his apartment. Tonight, they would make contact. Dae-sung went alone. The bar was quiet and dimly lit, the kind of place where people came to forget rather than socialize. Chul sat at the far end of the counter, nursing a glass of whiskey. He looked older than his photograph, with gray hair and tired eyes. Dae-sung sat down 2 seats away and ordered a drink. They sat in silence for several minutes. Then Dae-sung spoke quietly. "I'm sorry about your daughter." Chol's hand tightened on his glass. He turned slowly to look at Dae-sung. "Do I know you?" "No," Dae-sung said. "But I know about the accident. The industrial toxin leak that killed 7 workers, including your daughter. Nexus called it equipment failure." Chol's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows the truth," Dae-sung said. "The equipment didn't fail. Nexus cut corners on safety systems to save money. Your daughter died because executives chose profits over people." "That's a serious accusation," Chul said, his voice low and dangerous. "I have proof," Dae-sung said. He slid a data chip across the bar. "Safety inspection reports that were hidden. Internal memos discussing the cost savings. Everything." Chul stared at the chip, but did not take it. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because we need your help," Dae-sung said. "And because you deserve to know that your daughter's death was not an accident. It was negligence, corporate negligence." Chul picked up the chip. "What kind of help?" "Come with me," Dae-sung said. "There are some people you need to meet." Chul hesitated. Then he finished his drink and stood. "Lead the way." Back at the apartment, the rest of the team waited nervously. When Dae-sung entered with Chul, everyone tensed. The director looked at each of them, his eyes lingering on Hana. "You're the Velati," he said. "The one with the bounty." "My name is Hana," she said calmly. "And I didn't kill those colonists." "Show him everything," Dae-sung said. For the next 2 hours, they presented their evidence. The toxin reports from Tycho Prime, the corporate memos planning the murders, the bribed council members, the falsified bounty. And finally, the documents about the accident that killed Chul's daughter. Chul read through everything in silence. When he finished, he sat back in his chair, his face pale. "I've worked for Nexus for 20 years, he said quietly. "I believed in the company. I believed we were making the galaxy better." He looked up, his eyes wet. "My daughter died because of greed. Those colonists died because of greed. How many others?" "Too many," Youngmi said. "But we can stop it. We can expose them. We just need your help." "What do you need?" Chol asked. "Access to the central data vault," Tae-min said. "The original security footage from Tycho Prime is stored there. With that footage, we can prove what really happened." "That vault is impossible to access without executive clearance," Chul said. "We know," Bo-Ra said. "That's why we need you." Chul was quiet for a long moment. "If I do this, I'll lose everything. My job, my pension, possibly my freedom." "You'll also get justice for your daughter," Dae-sung said. "And you'll save lives. Nexus will do this again if we don't stop them." Chul stood and walked to the window, looking out at the Nexus tower. "When do we go?" "Tomorrow," Dae-sung said. "During the day shift when there are more people and more chaos." They spent the rest of the night reviewing the plan. Tae-min would create false credentials for everyone. Young Mai would pose as a corporate inspector. Bo-Ra and Dae-sung would enter as maintenance workers. Hana would stay hidden in their ship, monitoring communications. Chul would use his real credentials to lead them to the vault. The next morning, they put the plan into action. Tae-min's false credentials worked perfectly. They entered the Nexus building without issue, joining the flow of thousands of employees arriving for work. The tower's interior was as impressive as its exterior. Vast atriums filled with light, expensive art on every wall, everything designed to project power and success. But Dae-sung saw it differently now. Every piece of luxury was built on suffering. They took elevators down to the subterranean levels. The atmosphere changed as they descended. The decorative elements disappeared, replaced by functional corridors and harsh lighting. This was where the real work happened. Chol led them through a maze of hallways, using his credentials to pass through security checkpoints. Bo-Ra noted every camera, every sensor, every security measure. If they needed to escape quickly, she would need to know the fastest route. They reached the vault door. It was massive, 3 meters tall and half a meter thick. A biometric scanner glowed beside it. "I need your hand," Bo-Ra said to Chul. He placed his palm on the scanner. A blue light swept across his hand, reading his fingerprints and checking his pulse. Then an eye scanner activated, checking his retinal pattern. Finally, a voice prompt asked him to state his authorization code. Chul spoke the code clearly. "Security Director Chul, authorization code 77 Alpha 9 Omega." The vault door began to open with a deep mechanical sound. Beyond it was a room filled with servers, their lights blinking in the darkness. "The data you want is in the central server," Chul said, "but we need to hurry. The system logs all vault accesses." "Security will notice we're here." Taemin pulled out a portable terminal and connected it to the server. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he searched for the Tycho Prime files. "Got it," he said. "Downloading now." The minutes felt like hours as the progress bar slowly filled. Dae-Sung stood guard at the door, watching the corridor outside. Young Mai documented everything with a hidden camera. 80%, Taemin said. An alarm suddenly blared through the building. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "They know we're here," Chul said. "How much longer?" Dae-Sung asked. 95%. Taemin said. Come on, come on." Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Security was coming. 100%. Got it. Taemin yanked the cable from the server and stuffed his terminal in his bag. They ran. Chul led them through a side corridor that most people did not know about. Behind them, they could hear security teams shouting. "This way," Chul said, opening a door to a service stairwell. "It goes all the way to the surface." They climbed as fast as they could. 20 floors, 30, 40. Bo-Ra's earlier reconnaissance paid off as she guided them through alternate routes when they encountered security. At floor 70, they burst into a crowded office area. Confused employees stared as they ran past. Dae-Sung knew they had minutes at most before the entire building locked down. "Bo-Ra, we need an exit," he said into his communicator. "Loading dock on floor 62, she responded. "There's a transport window in 3 minutes. They changed direction, taking an elevator down. The doors opened on floor 62 just as a massive cargo transport was preparing to leave. Bo-Ra had hacked its systems and was piloting it remotely. "Jump!" Dae-Sung shouted. They leaped from the loading dock onto the moving transport. Dae-Sung caught Taemin's arm as he nearly missed. Youngmi stumbled, but Hana's voice came through the communicator. "I've got control. Hold on." The transport accelerated, smashing through the building's vehicle barrier. Alarms screamed. Security ships began launching from the tower. "We need to get to our ship," Dae-Sung said. "I'm bringing it to you," Hana said. 30 seconds. Their ship appeared, weaving through the cityscape. Hana brought it alongside the transport. One by one, they jumped across the gap. Chul went last, hesitating for a moment before leaping. Dae-Sung caught him and pulled him aboard. "Go!" Dae-Sung shouted. Hana pushed the engines to maximum. The ship accelerated upward, breaking through the atmosphere. Behind them, Nexus security ships gave chase. "They're faster than us," Hana said from the pilot's seat. "I'm on it," Taemin said. He plugged his terminal into the ship's systems and began typing rapidly. "I'm spoofing our transponder signal. They'll think we're 3 different ships heading in 3 different directions." It worked. The security ships split up, chasing phantom signals. Hana used the confusion to slip away, heading for the jump point that would take them out of the system. "Jump in 30 seconds, she said. Everyone strapped into their seats. Dae-Sung looked around at his team. Taemin was grinning despite their close call. Young Mi looked terrified but excited. Bo-Ra was calmly checking her equipment. Chol sat quietly, looking lost. "You did the right thing," Dae-sung told him. "I betrayed my company," Chul said. "You exposed murderers," Dae-sung corrected. "There's a difference." The ship jumped to hyperspace. They were safe, for now. And they had the evidence. Back in the cargo hold, Tae-min connected his terminal to the main display. The security footage from Tycho Prime began to play. It showed exactly what Hana had described. Nexus operatives in protective suits, releasing toxins into the colony's air systems. The colonists collapsing as the poison spread. The operatives carefully arranging the bodies to make it look like blood loss. And then, hours later, Hana arriving and trying to help. "This is it," Young-mi said. "This is irrefutable proof. Now we just need to get it to the galaxy," Tae-min said. Dae-sung looked at Hana. She was watching the footage with tears running down her face. He took her hand. "We got justice for them," he said. "For all of them." She nodded, unable to speak. Chul watched the footage as well. When it finished, he looked at the team. "My daughter's name was So Yai. She was 23. She wanted to be an engineer like her father. She died because Nexus cut corners on safety equipment." He stood up straighter. "I don't care what happens to me. I want to make sure everyone knows what this company really is." "They will," Young-mi promised. "I'll make sure of it." The team spent the next several hours reviewing all their evidence. They had everything: the original security footage, the corporate memos, the bribed officials, the toxin reports, Chol's testimony. It was comprehensive and damning. "How do we release this?" Bo-Ra asked. "If we just post it online, Nexus will claim it's fake." "We broadcast it everywhere all at once," Tae-min said. "Every news network, every social media platform, every public forum in the galaxy. We flood the system so completely that they can't suppress it." "Can you do that?" Dae-sung asked. Tae-min smiled. "I've been planning this hack for years. I just needed a good enough reason to use it." "When?" Hana asked. "Tomorrow," Tae-min said. "I need time to prepare, but tomorrow, the whole galaxy will know the truth." That night, Dae-sung found Hana on the observation deck. She was staring out at the stars, as she often did. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too excited," she said, "and too nervous. After tomorrow, everything changes." "Scared?" he asked. "Yes," she admitted, "but also hopeful. For the first time in months, I feel like maybe justice is possible." Dae-sung stood beside her. "Whatever happens, we did this together. All of us." Hana took his hand. "I never thanked you properly. For believing me. For risking everything." "You don't need to thank me," Dae-sung said. "You helped me find something I lost a long time ago." "What's that?" she asked. "Purpose," he said. "A reason to fight for something bigger than myself." They stood together in the darkness, watching the stars and waiting for the dawn that would change everything. Tae-min worked through the night, preparing the most ambitious hack of his career. His fingers moved across multiple keyboards simultaneously, writing code that would breach hundreds of networks at once. Coffee cups piled up beside him as the hours passed. "How's it going?" Dae-sung asked, bringing him another cup. "Almost ready," Tae-min said, his eyes fixed on his screens. "I'm creating a program that will inject our data into every major news network's broadcast system. When I activate it, they won't be able to stop it. The information will spread across every planet, every station, every ship in human space. The other species will pick it up too." "What about Nexus?" Bo-Ra asked. "Won't they try to shut it down?" "They'll try," Tae-min said. "But by the time they react, it'll be too late. The information will be everywhere. You can't put the truth back in the box once it's out." Young-mi had spent the night preparing her presentation. She had organized all the evidence into a clear, compelling narrative. Security footage, documents, testimony, all arranged to tell the complete story of Nexus's crimes. "This needs to be perfect," she said, reviewing her script for the 10th time. "We're going to shake the foundations of corporate power. If I get anything wrong, they'll use it to discredit everything." "It's perfect," Hana assured her. "You've done an incredible job." Chul sat apart from the others, looking troubled. Dae-sung joined him. "Regrets?" Dae-sung asked. "No," Chul said, "but I keep thinking about all the years I worked for them, all the things I must have missed. How many other crimes did I overlook?" "You didn't know," Dae-sung said. "They hid the truth from everyone." "I should have looked harder," Chul said. "My daughter might still be alive if I had." "Or you might have ended up like those colonists," Dae-sung said. "Dead and blamed for something you didn't do. You can't change the past, but you're helping make sure this doesn't happen again." As dawn approached, Tai-min made his final preparations. The team gathered around his workstation, watching the multiple screens display connection pathways and security protocols. "This is it," Tai-min said. "Once I activate this, there's no going back. Nexus will know exactly where the leak came from. They'll come after us with everything they have." "Do it," Hana said firmly. "Everyone ready?" Tai-min asked. He looked at young Mi. "You're going to be famous after this, or infamous. Probably both." "I'm ready," young Mi said. She stood in front of the camera they had set up. Behind her, screens would display the evidence as she narrated. Tai-min's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Activating in 3, 2, 1. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and stations, broadcast systems suddenly switched to the same feed. News anchors stopped mid-sentence as their screens went black. Entertainment programs were interrupted. Even government channels were hijacked. Young Mi's face appeared on every screen. She looked directly into the camera and began to speak. "My name is Young Mi, and I am a journalist. What you are about to see is evidence of murder, corruption, and conspiracy at the highest levels of corporate and government power. This information has been suppressed for months. People have died to keep it secret. But today, the truth comes out." The security footage from Tycho Prime began to play. Viewers across the galaxy watched as Nexus operatives released toxins into the colony's air supply. They watched the colonists die. They watched as the operatives arranged the bodies to frame Hana. 12 innocent people were murdered by Nexus Dynamics, Young Mi narrated. They died because they refused to sell mining rights to a valuable Viridium deposit. An innocent Velati scholar named Hana was framed for these murders. Members of the Galactic Council were bribed to place a bounty on her head and seal the evidence. She displayed the corporate memos, the financial records, the communications between Nexus executives and corrupt officials. Every piece of evidence laid out clearly and undeniably. "This is not an isolated incident," Young Mi continued. "Nexus Dynamics has a pattern of prioritizing profit over safety, over law, over life. 6 months ago, 7 workers died in an industrial accident on one of their mining operations. The company claimed equipment failure. Internal documents show they knowingly cut safety systems to save money." The footage of Chul's daughter appeared, along with the other victims. Their family's grief was on display for the galaxy to see. Young Mi's voice grew stronger, more passionate. "How many more people have to die before we hold these corporations accountable? How many more innocents have to be framed? How many more officials have to be bought? Today, we say enough. Today, we demand justice." The broadcast continued for 15 minutes. When it ended, Young Mi's face appeared one last time. "This evidence has been distributed across every network in the galaxy. It cannot be suppressed. It cannot be denied. The people responsible must face justice. And to those who suffered because of these crimes, know that your pain has not been forgotten. The truth is now known." The screen went black. For a moment, there was silence in the team's ship. Then Tai-min started laughing. "We did it," he said. The broadcast went out to every major world in human space, and it's already spreading to alien networks. Within an hour, every sentient being in the galaxy will know what Nexus did. Daesung pulled up news feeds on the main display. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Social media platforms were flooded with comments. News analysts were scrambling to verify the information. Government officials were issuing statements. On New Seoul, protests began within minutes of the broadcast. Thousands of people gathered outside Nexus headquarters, demanding justice. Similar protests erupted on other worlds where Nexus had operations. "Look at this," Bo-Ra said, pointing to a financial feed. "Nexus stock is crashing. It's down 40% and still falling." Emergency meetings were called in the Galactic Council. The officials who had taken bribes tried to deny involvement, but the evidence was irrefutable. 3 council members resigned within the first hour. More would follow. On Tycho Prime's sister colonies, memorial services were held for the murdered colonists. Their families, who had been told the deaths were unavoidable, now knew the truth. Their grief turned to anger, and that anger turned to demands for justice. The Velati government issued a statement supporting Hana and condemning the false accusations against their people. Other alien species added their voices, calling for reform in how corporate crimes were prosecuted. But Nexus was not going quietly. Within 2 hours of the broadcast, the corporation issued a statement denying everything. They claimed the evidence was fabricated. They accused the team of terrorism and offered massive bounties for their capture. "They're not even pretending anymore," Young Mi said, reading the statement. "They're just throwing money at the problem." "Look at this," Tae-min said, pulling up another feed. "Nexus has hired mercenary groups. They're putting out bounties on all of us, 5 million credits each." Daesung felt Hana tense beside him. "We knew this would happen," he said, "but we have something they don't." "What's that?" Hana asked. "Public support," Daesung said. He gestured to the news feeds. "Look at the protests. Look at the outrage. People are demanding justice. Nexus can hire all the mercenaries they want, but they're fighting against the entire galaxy now." And it was true. The public reaction was overwhelmingly supportive. Social media was filled with messages of support for the team. People were calling them heroes. Some were calling them revolutionaries. But support did not mean safety. Tae-min detected multiple ships changing course toward their location. Mercenaries drawn by the bounties. "We need to move," he said. "Now." They jumped to a new location, then jumped again. For the next 3 days, they stayed in motion, never staying in one place long enough to be tracked. During that time, the galaxy continued to react to their revelations. The Galactic Council announced a special investigation into Nexus dynamics. Law enforcement agencies across human space began coordinating efforts to arrest Nexus executives. The corporation's assets were frozen pending investigation. Director Yoon, the executive who had orchestrated the Tycho Prime murders, was arrested trying to flee to a planet without extradition treaties. 2 other executives were found dead, apparent suicides, though some suspected Nexus had silenced them. Hana's bounty was officially rescinded. The Galactic Council issued a formal apology for the wrongful accusation. But they also placed new bounties on the team for their methods, calling them vigilantes who had broken numerous laws. "So we're heroes and criminals at the same time," Tae-min said. "That's a new one." "At least they can't claim we're murderers," Hana said. "That's progress." Chul received messages from his former colleagues. Some called him a traitor, but many more thanked him for his courage. His daughter's death had not been meaningless after all. During a quiet moment, Daesung and Hana stood together in the observation deck, watching the stars stream past. "It's working," Hana said. "Everything we hoped for. Justice is finally coming." "But at what cost?" Daesung asked. "We're fugitives now. We can't go home. We can't stop running." Would you take it back? Hana asked. If you could. Daesung thought about it. He thought about the life he had before, hunting bounties and caring about nothing but his next paycheck. Then he thought about the last few weeks, the purpose he had found, the friends he had made, the woman standing beside him. No, he said, I wouldn't take it back. Hana smiled. She leaned against him, and he put his arm around her shoulders. They stood like that for a long time. Two people who had found each other in the midst of chaos. A message came through from young Mi. She was monitoring news feeds and had important information. There's going to be a trial, she said when they gathered. The Galactic Council is convening a special tribunal. They're fast-tracking it because of public pressure. Nexus executives will face charges of murder, conspiracy, bribery, and about 50 other crimes. When? Daesung asked. 3 months, Young Mi said. They want Hana to testify. Everyone looked at Hana. Testifying meant coming out of hiding. It meant putting herself at risk. I'll do it, Hana said without hesitation. Those colonists deserve to have their story told. So does So Yi and the other workers who died. If my testimony helps convict the people responsible, then I'll testify. We'll all testify, Chul said. Together. They'll try to kill us before the trial, Bo-Ra said. Nexus still has resources, still has mercenaries. They'll do anything to stop us from speaking. Then we need protection, Daesung said. Real protection, not just running and hiding. Young Mi had a suggestion. There's a reform movement gaining power in the council. Politicians who want to crack down on corporate corruption. They've been reaching out to me. They want to help. Can we trust them? Taemin asked. I don't know, Young Mi admitted. But we don't have many options. They debated for hours. Finally, they agreed to make contact with the reform politicians. It was risky, but testifying was riskier without protection. The response came quickly. The reform faction offered full protection for the team in exchange for their testimony. They would be housed in a secure facility until the trial. Armed guards would protect them. And if they testified, they would receive pardons for the laws they broke during their investigation. It's the best offer we're going to get, Daesung said. The team agreed. They set course for the designated safe location, knowing that the next few months would determine not just their fates, but the fate of corporate accountability across the galaxy. As they traveled, Hana found Daesung alone in his quarters. Thank you, she said, for everything, for believing me, for fighting for me, for standing beside me through all of this. You don't need to thank me, Daesung said. You gave me something more valuable than any bounty. You gave me purpose. You made me remember who I used to be before I lost my way. Hana stepped closer. And you made me remember that not all humans fear what they don't understand, that some are brave enough to seek the truth. They kissed then, a moment of peace in the storm that had become their lives. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Whatever happens at that trial, Hana said, we face it together. Together, Daesung agreed. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the struggles of the small beings traveling through them. But those small beings had changed the galaxy. They had exposed corruption, they had demanded justice, and they had shown that sometimes a few determined people could stand against the powerful and win. The trial would come soon, and with it, the final reckoning for those who had thought themselves above the law. 3 months passed in the secure facility. The team lived in comfortable but confined quarters, surrounded by armed guards and security systems. It felt like a luxurious prison, but they were alive. That was what mattered. During those months, they prepared for the trial. Young Mi worked with prosecutors to organize the evidence. Tai Min enhanced security protocols to prevent any tampering with their testimony. Bo-Ra built secure communication systems. Chul provided insider knowledge of Nexus operations. And Hana prepared herself mentally for what was coming. Dae-sung watched her practice her testimony again and again. She wanted every word to be perfect, every detail to be clear. The weight of 12 lives rested on her shoulders, and she refused to let them down. "You're going to do great," Dae-sung told her the night before the trial began. "What if I'm not enough?" Hana asked. "What if they still find a way to escape justice?" "Then we tried our best," Dae-sung said. "But I don't think that will happen. The whole galaxy is watching. They can't hide anymore." The trial was held in the Grand Chamber of Justice on the capital world. It was the most significant trial in recent history, with billions watching across hundreds of worlds. The chamber was massive, with seats for thousands of observers and screens displaying the proceedings to everyone outside. Security was intense. Armed guards lined every corridor. Scanners checked everyone entering the building. Snipers watched from rooftops. The reform politicians were taking no chances. Too many people wanted this trial to fail. The defendants sat in a special enclosure. 8 Nexus executives, including Director Yoon, and 5 corrupt Galactic Council members. They wore expensive suits and confident expressions. Their lawyers were the best money could buy, but across from them sat something money could not buy: the truth. The trial began with the prosecution laying out their case. They presented the security footage from Tycho Prime. They showed the corporate memos. They displayed the financial records of the bribes. The evidence was overwhelming, and the audience watched in shocked silence. Then came the testimony. Chul took the stand first. He spoke about his daughter's death, his voice breaking as he described finding out the truth. He explained how Nexus prioritized profits over safety, how they had knowingly let workers die to save money. The defense lawyers tried to discredit him, suggesting he was biased because of his daughter. But Chul remained steady, presenting document after document that supported his claims. Bo-Ra testified next. She explained the technical details of how Nexus had sabotaged their own safety systems. Her expertise was undeniable, and the defense could not shake her testimony. Young Mi testified about her investigation, about how she had verified every piece of evidence. She spoke about journalism ethics and the importance of truth. Some in the audience applauded when she finished. The judges had to call for order. Tai Min testified about his hacking, admitting to the crimes he had committed but explaining why they were necessary. He showed how Nexus had hidden evidence and bribed officials. His testimony was technical, but devastating. Then it was Hana's turn. She walked to the stand with her head held high. The entire chamber fell silent. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The woman who had been hunted across the galaxy, accused of terrible crimes, was finally going to tell her story. Hana looked directly at the judges as she spoke. Her voice was clear and steady. "My name is Hana. I am Velathi. For 6 months, I lived on Tycho Prime as part of a cultural exchange program. I taught the colonists children. I studied their way of life. They welcomed me, even though many humans fear my people. They saw past the propaganda and treated me as a friend." She paused, her eyes moving to the families of the victims sitting in the front rows. "When I saw the children getting sick, I tried to help. I went to the medical center to find answers. Instead, I found death. 12 people I knew, people who had shared meals with me and told me stories about their lives, were dead, and I was blamed for it." The defense lawyer stood. The defendant was found at the scene covered in the victim's blood. "Because I tried to help them," Hana said firmly. "I checked for pulses. I tried to perform first aid. Of course, I had blood on me. I was trying to save them, not kill them." She turned back to the judges. "For months, I ran. I was hunted like an animal. People saw me as a monster because of what I am, not who I am. But one human saw past the lies. One human chose to seek the truth. rather than accept the easy answer. She looked at Dae-sung, sitting in the witness area. He captured me, yes, but then he investigated. He asked questions. He risked everything to find out what really happened. And because of him, we uncovered a conspiracy that cost innocent lives, not just on Tycho Prime, but in many places where Nexus Dynamics operated. The prosecution showed the footage one more time. The chamber watched in silence as Nexus operatives murdered the colonists. When it finished, several people in the audience were crying. "This is what really happened," Hana said. "Not the story they told, not the convenient lie that blamed Avelathi for human deaths. The truth. And the truth is that greed killed those people. Corporate greed that values profit over life." The defense tried to cross-examine her, tried to find inconsistencies in her story. But Hana had lived these events. She remembered every detail. Her testimony was unshakable. Finally, Dae-sung took the stand. He described how he had captured Hana, how his doubts had grown, how he had chosen to investigate rather than just collect his bounty. "I was a bounty hunter," he said. "I worked for money. I told myself that justice didn't matter, that I was just doing a job. But Hana made me see that I was wrong. Justice does matter. Truth matters. And sometimes doing the right thing means giving up everything you thought you wanted." The defense lawyer sneered. "You gave up 500,000 credits. That's quite a sacrifice." "No," Dae-sung said, looking directly at Hana. "I gained something worth far more than credits. I found purpose again. I found people worth fighting for. I found someone who made me want to be a better person. The real treasure was never the bounty. It was the journey to uncover the truth." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every day brought new revelations, new evidence, new testimony. The defense fought hard, but they were fighting against reality. The evidence was too strong, the testimony too consistent, the truth too obvious. On the final day, the judges deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the entire galaxy held its breath. "We find the defendants guilty on all charges," the head judge announced. The chamber erupted. Some people cheered, others cried. The victims' families embraced each other. The defendants sat in stunned silence, their confident expressions finally crumbling. The sentences were severe. Director Yoon received life imprisonment on a penal colony with no possibility of parole. The other Nexus executives received similar sentences. The corrupt council members were stripped of their positions and received prison terms ranging from 20 to 50 years. But more importantly, the trial changed everything. New laws were passed regulating corporate behavior. Protections for whistleblowers were strengthened. Independent oversight committees were established. The Galactic Council underwent massive reforms to prevent future corruption. Nexus Dynamics itself was dissolved. Its assets were seized and redistributed. Billions of credits went to the victims' families and to workers who had been injured in unsafe conditions. The Tycho Prime colony was rebuilt as a memorial to those who died. After the trial, the team was officially pardoned for the laws they had broken during their investigation. They were free to go wherever they wanted. They chose to stay together. A year after the trial, Dae-sung and Hana stood on Earth, visiting the memorial that had been built for the Tycho Prime victims. 12 pillars of white stone stood in a garden, each one bearing the name of a colonist who had died. Flowers surrounded the memorial, and people came daily to pay their respects. "They're not forgotten," Hana said softly, touching one of the pillars. "No," Dae-sung agreed. "They'll never be forgotten." So-Yi's name was there too, along with the other workers who had died in the safety violations. Chul visited often, Dae-sung knew. The man had dedicated his life to workplace safety reform, using his tragedy to prevent others from suffering the same loss. "What happens now?" Hana asked. "We've achieved what we set out to do. Justice has been served. What's next for us?" Dae-sung took her hand. "I thought we could build something. Something that honors what we learned. Like what? Hana asked. A foundation, Daesung said. For cultural understanding between species, to fight prejudice with education, to show people that fear comes from ignorance, and knowledge can replace fear with understanding. Hana's eyes brightened. You want to continue the work I started, building bridges between humans and other species. Not just me, Daesung said. All of us. Taemin can handle security and technology. Young Mi can manage communications and media. Bo-Ra can help establish exchange programs. Chol can advise on corporate ethics and safety, and you and I can lead it together. A team, Hana said with a smile. Still fighting, just in a different way. Exactly, Daesung said. They established the foundation within months. Young Mi's journalism award and newfound fame helped attract donors. Taemin's security systems ensured their work couldn't be sabotaged. Bo-Ra's technical skills helped them establish programs across multiple worlds, and Chol's insider knowledge of corporate structures helped them implement real change. The foundation grew quickly. They established cultural centers on dozens of worlds. They created exchange programs that brought together humans and aliens to learn about each other. They funded research into understanding different species and breaking down stereotypes. 5 years later, Daesung stood at the opening ceremony of their 100th Cultural Center. Hundreds of people attended, both human and alien. Species that had once feared each other now traded knowledge, art, and friendship. Hana spoke at the ceremony. 5 years ago, I was hunted as a monster. Today, I stand here as proof that understanding can overcome fear. This center, like all the others we've built, exists because people chose truth over prejudice, justice over convenience, and courage over comfort. She looked at Daesung. It exists because one human decided that I was worth more than a bounty, that the truth was worth more than money, that doing the right thing mattered more than taking the easy path. After the ceremony, the team gathered privately. They had all changed. Taemin was less cynical, more hopeful about people. Young Mi had rebuilt her reputation and won numerous awards for her continued investigative work. Bo-Ra had become a respected engineer and ambassador. Chol had found peace, knowing his daughter's death had led to reforms that saved countless lives. Remember when we were just 5 people on the run? Taemin said. Now look at us. We changed the galaxy. We did more than that, Young Mi said. We proved that ordinary people can hold power accountable. That truth can overcome corruption. That justice is possible if people are willing to fight for it. To truth and justice, Bo-Ra said, raising her glass. To friendship, Chul added. To second chances, Taemin said. To choosing the right path, Young Mi said. Daesung raised his glass. To finding treasure in unexpected places. Everyone drank. Then Hana spoke one more time. In my language, there's a saying, the greatest treasures are those that transform us. We were all transformed by this journey. We became better versions of ourselves. We found purpose, friendship, and love. Those are the true treasures. Later that night, Daesung and Hana walked alone through the cultural center. It was beautiful, filled with art from both human and Velati cultures. A testament to what was possible when people chose understanding over fear. Do you ever regret it? Hana asked. Giving up that bounty? That easy life? Daesung laughed. Every day I'm grateful I did. That bounty would have been gone in a few years. But this? He gestured around them. This is permanent. This matters. And I get to share it with you. I love you, Hana said simply. I love you too, Daesung replied. They kissed under the stars. 2 people from different worlds who had found each other in the midst of chaos and built something beautiful from tragedy. 10 years later, the Foundation had established programs on over 300 worlds. Species that had once been enemies now worked together. The prejudices that had defined generations were slowly being erased by education and understanding. Daesung and Hana had a child, a daughter who was half human and half Velothi. She was proof that two species could not just coexist, but create something new and wonderful together. They named her Jiwoo after Daesung's sister, a way of honoring the past while building the future. On Jiwoo's 5th birthday, they visited the memorial on Earth again. The girl ran among the pillars, laughing and playing. She didn't understand yet what those names meant, what sacrifices had been made. But someday she would. Someday Daesung and Hana would tell her the story. About 12 colonists who died unjustly. About a woman who was hunted for crimes she didn't commit. About a bounty hunter who chose truth over money. About a team of unlikely allies who changed the galaxy. And they would tell her that the real treasure was never the credits or the fame. It was the connections they made, the lives they saved, the future they built. As the sun set over Earth, casting golden light across the memorial, Daesung held Hana close and watched their daughter play. He thought about the path that had brought him here, from cynical bounty hunter to devoted partner and father, from chasing money to building a legacy. "What are you thinking?" Hana asked. "That I was hunting the wrong thing my whole life," Daesung said. "I thought happiness came from wealth, but it comes from this, from love, from purpose, from making the galaxy a little bit better." "You found your treasure," Hana said with a smile. "We found it together," Daesung corrected. They watched as Jiwoo discovered a flower growing between the memorial pillars. She picked it carefully and brought it to them, her eyes shining with joy at this small gift. "For you," she said in her high child's voice. Daesung took the flower and lifted his daughter into his arms. She wrapped her small arms around his neck and rested her head on his shoulder. This was the treasure, not credits in an account, not fame or power, but this: family, love, purpose, and the knowledge that they had made the universe better than they found it. The bounty hunter had been hunting treasures all his life. He just hadn't known what treasure really meant until he met an alien woman accused of terrible crimes, listened to her story, and chose to believe in truth rather than lies. And in the end, that choice had given him everything that truly mattered. As darkness fell over the memorial, 3 generations stood together under the stars. The past honored, the present celebrated, and the future full of hope. The galaxy had changed because 5 people decided that justice was worth fighting for. And it would continue changing because those 5 people had inspired millions of others to do the same. The story that began with a bounty and a hunt had ended with something far more valuable: a family, a legacy, a better world. And that, Daesung knew, was the greatest treasure of all.